Okay, we are recording. Okay, DBA, you got it. Your show. Let me
All
know if
right.
you have anything that you want me to share, and I'll put it up
Okay.
here on screen.
All right. All right. My name is Black Asian. I'm one of the admins in the Reservoir Telegram group. Just to let everybody know, we do have a Reservoir YouTube channel, which you could look up in the Telegram group, and also have my own private YouTube channel called DeFi Crypto Boss. So a lot of questions that we get about the sit rep, I just want to start off is, do get a lot of comments saying like, hey, how come the sit rep hasn't changed? So just to let everybody know, as of right now, we enter the information into the sit rep manually every day. I try to do it at a consistent time around 1800 Eastern Standard Time every day, just to give a good full day of a gap to show the difference in price with each sit rep. So in our group, our Easy Roundtable, we have talked about doing an automated sit rep. So every time someone does like try to enter the sit rep, give a updated calculation or just make another, I guess, chat or a bot where it pulls all this information together to upload the up-to-date sit rep. But as of right now, guys, we do it manually. So it's not a current I guess, information. So I did do a sit rep this morning just to do a comparison for yesterday. As you guys know, the market has gone down overnight, my time. BNB balance has dropped, and also the drip supply has gone down. So a easy way to, or a quick way just to see if the reservoir, if our contributions in the reservoir is working, is to look at there's a couple things you have to look at. You have to look at the BNB price because a lot of drip is pegged with the BNB. Also, you want to look at the drip supply. And if you guys have noticed, the last couple of weeks, the drip supply has gone up significantly. I mean, as of this morning, we're in the 170,000 range right now. And I try to tell people this: if you go, we try to put on the bottom of the sit rep a time where about 5, 6, 7 months ago, where we have a similar supply and how low the drip price was back then compared to what it has been recently. And you guys can see there's usually got like a $10 price difference. And that is because of the recent past couple weeks with a lot of these YouTube influencers with the work with Easy, Stunner Breezy, Crypto Mike has done it. Just a bunch of different YouTubers expressing and showing the people how important the reservoir is and has been with increasing the price floor of the drip price. And one of the questions I also get is, how come the price floor changes a lot? So when we capture a price floor, it's always at the moment of what the supply is currently, the amount of drop balance we have, amount of BNB balance. So it is going to fluctuate over time, guys. And like I said, one of the key factors is to look at the drip supply. The drip supply does have a huge impact on the floor price. Just people selling it off, or just the drip tokens being back in circulation and not being held, is going to decrease the price of drip. Also, I've seen a couple YouTube channels. I don't know how many drip channels everyone follows, but there's a couple channels out there that are trying to, I guess, show their calculations of how to get the drip floor price. And I've been looking at them, and they have been incorrect. They're trying to show a higher drip floor price, and I was just doing the calculations they were doing. I was just like, this is not right. So, and I've seen a lot of information on the telegrams, and not just the drip reservoir, and different telegrams with drip say, hey, this is the way to calculate a drip floor price. And I would like to share with you guys what we do to calculate the drip floor price. So, guys, one thing, this is how we do it. We go 1 over the BNB drop balance. And before you do that, you have to divide that by 0.9. 0.9 is the 10% tax that you have to take out. And our team has found that when you calculate this is something essential to add. So you have to get the BNB drop balance, divide that by 0.9, and then when you get that number, you do 1 divided by that total number. Once you get that, you multiply that by the total drop balance. Once you get that, you multiply that by the BNB price, And then you divide that by the drip supply. Now, this is all estimates, but this has been a more accurate way to get a better floor price. And like I said, I've seen a lot of misinformation out there saying like, hey, this isn't right. I got a higher floor price, and how come we're starting to get below this floor price? It's because people aren't calculating the correct way. So that's a formula that we use to provide that information to you guys. And I just want to keep this short. I know we have a short time frame here. If any of you guys have suggestions on what you guys would like to see in the SITREP report, please contact one of us or just contact us in the Drip Telegram group. I know one of the biggest questions that people ask is, hey, what's the current drop price? And starting yesterday, I actually added that to the SITREP. So I did add another line showing the drop price just to see if people notice that and to see if like, oh, hey, now this SITREP has it, just to reduce a few questions, because I see a lot of our admins trying to explain, well, you have to do this, and that. But I feel like if I put that in there, people would just be like, okay, let me pull the SITREP. Okay, this is the drop price now. I got it. So like I said, if you guys have any suggestions on what other information, or if you think the SITREP is a little bit too complicated, or you guys want it more simpler, just hit us up. We've had throughout the last few weeks modified the SITREP as suggestions come in or not. Also, I think let me see here. Yeah, that's it for me. I just want to keep it short and simple. Like I said, if you guys had any questions with the SITREP, just please contact us. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Black Asian. Do we have any questions concerning the SITREP or anything else that Black Asian talked about? Okay, no questions. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the deposit plan. Kanji, you ready?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so can you guys see my screen that I'm sharing?
Yeah, I'm able to see your screen, yeah.
You guys can see it? Okay, one second. Okay, can you guys see?
Yeah.
Okay, now this is the reservoir deposit plan. Kanji, go ahead. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction, Easy. So without further ado, let's talk about the plan. So this plan actually serves as a guideline for people that don't know how they should start their endeavors in the reservoir. So people that don't know how much they should deposit, or maybe would like to have a progressive guideline and how to maneuver in the reservoir, they can just look at this resource and use it as a visual aid, so to say, to help them with that. And this plan actually came about because of drip farming for poverty video, in which he actually made a similar plan, and Easy did a breakdown of that plan as well. So if you would like to have more context on that plan and see what that plan looks like, just look at those videos, and you should get a broader set of knowledge out of it. So in that breakdown, Easy actually stated that 63% of the deposited amount of BNB would be paid by people with less than 100 drip in their faucet. And what we actually wanted to do is make sure that the people which have more deposits in the faucet have actually more responsibility in the ecosystem. The small players are actually carrying the weight right now instead of everyone, but the small players have less exposure to the drip ecosystem. So it really doesn't make too much sense to let them carry most of it, instead of letting the players which are benefiting the most from the system carry that reservoir, the reservoir deposits, so to say. So what we did is we devised a plan in which larger wallets could have more responsibility in the ecosystem. And we actually did that by doing a bunch of calculations. I'm not sure if you have it on the screen, Easy. Could you? Yeah, that's all right. That's all right for sure. So if you look at a screen, you actually see a couple of percentages. But before we talk about those percentages, we need to stipulate what we actually would like to have as a goal. And the goal we actually had was the 69 BNB a day goal to keep this momentum going. And we would like that the whales or the smaller or the bigger wallets actually would have more responsibility in pledging that 69 BNB a day. So we stipulated the daily amount of BNB that is needed to keep this momentum going, which is 69, like I just said. And we split those percentages or those BNB down into brackets. And those brackets are each and every bracket is actually given a certain amount of responsibility of percentage or weighted percentage. So this actually means that we made sure that players with 600 plus drip in the faucet would be accountable for 63% of the BNB deposits. Players with 100 to 600 drip would be accountable for 23% of the deposits, and player with less than 100 drip would only be responsible for that 13%. And the thing is, the larger players would actually benefit from this as well, because they will have more weight in the system, and which means that they actually would receive more rewards as well. How we actually did that is by multiplying the daily BNB goal, which is 69, by every weighted percentage, so 63, 23, and 13, and divide that by the amount of players in each and every bracket. And doing that, multiplying that by 365 to get a yearly amount. So if we do that, we actually calculate what we actually need in a year from all of the players to be depositing. So the amount that should be deposited in the reservoir per player per bracket. Well, we actually came to three different numbers, and for every bracket, actually one number. And the first one is for the players with less than 100 drip, which would need to deposit 0.0439 BNB a year. And players with 100 to 600 drip would have to be depositing 0.42 a year. And players with 600 plus drip would be depositing 4.65 a drip a year, or the BNB a year in the reservoir. But if you look at those numbers, you actually see that it's not too well distributed. I mean, 4.65 BNB isn't maybe too much for someone with 20K plus drip in the deposits, but it can certainly be a lot more for people with 600 drip in the deposits. So we broke those numbers down again further, and we actually assigned weighted percentages to the breakdown of those numbers as well. You see, you can scroll down a little bit. Yeah, thank you very much. So what you see, what you actually see on the screen right now is that the players which are allocating 63% of that 69 BNB a day were actually subcategorized, and they also carry a responsibility in those brackets, and they do that by paying more. And if you do that progressively and you go to the most of the reservoir, you actually get a natural progression in how the reservoir works and how much you should deposit in the reservoir. Let's see. So that's actually how we came about to make the deposit plan. So you can actually see the deposit plan. Could you please scroll to the deposit plan, Easy? Thank you very much. So you see the deposit plan. We also apply the active player ratio because we only accounted for the players that are actually active in the community. So we know there are more wallets than actually players. So we took that into account as well and brushed off the numbers. And this is actually the plan that came about. And what you can see in this plan is that there's a progression, the linear progression, and you see that whenever someone goes up a step in the plan, the amount of BNB they need to deposit becomes higher, and the higher they go in the progression, the more aggressive the plan becomes. So that's actually something that was introduced intentionally into the plan to make sure that the higher you go and the more sell pressure there comes with new whales, the more the whales actually need to deposit as well. I would also like to say that this plan is needs to be used in tandem with the positive feedback loop. And for the people that don't know how the positive feedback loop works, is that we actually just claim, when we claim a little bit of drip, that we should actually put a little bit of the drip into the reservoir to make sure that our floor price stays high or has the potential to go higher. So you're actually taxing yourself a little bit extra for the community's sake and for the sustainability of the ecosystem. Well, that's actually the plan. I'm not sure if someone would have a question or would like to add something to it.
Yeah, hey Kanji, I got a question real quick, man, if I may.
Sure. For sure.
For the lower bracket people who have drip, let's say they want to make that contribution over, they would have to get taxed taking the drip out, putting it into BNB, and then putting it in. Do you think there could be maybe a different way or an easier way to be able to maybe make a UI change or something to make it easier to, get the funds sent from there to there and not be so taxing on the individual? Just getting, if they're going to work through their faucet.
Yeah, I actually think that the lower players, so people with less than 50 drip, they probably should, or it would be better for them because of the tax system you indeed mentioned. It should be better for them if they actually put in fresh capital into the system, and maybe they can compound that as well to make them the deposits go up. And in tandem with that, keep that positive feedback loop in mind. And whenever we hit an all-time high, then they can actually claim a little bit of drip and put it in the faucet and grow within the system as well.
Cool, man. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, man. Because the thing is, I'm not sure how to implement new systems or a new UI. That's something Forex should look at or could look at, but that's not something we actually can do as a community, I think. But maybe if there are more ideas or ideas to actually expand the plan, we can always talk about it and see what we can do as a community to make everything
Yeah,
happen.
because that could happen because I believe part of the core contract, when you compound or you hydrate, a percentage of that from the tax is actually in BNB that goes to the tax vault. So maybe something could be done back end. Maybe if we work with Forex, you have that easily channeled to the liquidity for the reservoir. That would be easy. That'd be totally ideal.
Yeah, that would be neat indeed. That would make a lot of things a little bit easier, and we would automate everything actually, and we would automate the reservoir deposits, and that would be something that would help a lot because taking extra steps is can be difficult for people, and DeFi is a difficult topic for a lot of people. So yeah, that would help. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, I had a question. So on this plan that's shown, is this intended to be a total final deposit per person, or is it a recurring deposit in a certain time frame, or like how often are people being encouraged to make these deposits?
So that's a good question. Thank you for that one. I forgot to mention indeed. So if you look at the deposit plan, you see a plus next to the BNB sign. And this actually means that we are actually using this as a base. So this is actually the minimum requirement you need to deposit a year per person in that bracket. If you can deposit more, we encourage you to deposit more just to get up in those brackets and earn more of the share of the reservoir, but also to help yourself and the community out. So we encourage you to at least do this on a yearly basis. If you can, and well, just try to follow the plan as strictly as possible. But if you can go up and you can do more, the more the merrier. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Are there any more questions, or if people actually would like to have a deep dive in those numbers, because I actually didn't show everything, because there's a lot of number crushing involved in this. You can just DM me or ask something in the chat, and we can see if we can give you an answer. Okay, so if there are no more questions,
I have a question.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes. So how will the reservoir deal with so when the tax vault is drained and Forex has to start minting tokens, what kind of impact will the reservoir have on mitigating some of those issues? Because a big concern is obviously the tax vault going to zero
Yeah,
and the minting
of
of new
course.
tokens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Kanji, I'm sorry for stepping in here, but I actually cover that in my segment of this presentation. So yeah, just stand by for a second.
Okay. Are there any more questions? No, if there aren't, then let's just go further, and let's just go easy. You can take it over and just do your thing.
Okay, good job, Kanji. That was really good introduction of the reservoir deposit plan. This is going to really help us a lot in terms of sustainability, because over time, as you guys can see, we're beginning to understand drip a lot more, right? In terms of its behavior, and the longer drip is around, the more wells we're going to have, right? Everybody that's in this chat right now, sooner or later, you're going to become a well. If you're doing your constant compounding, you're growing your account, you're going to eventually become a well. So with that in mind, we had to put something together that is able to increase or grow the deposits of BNB into reservoir consistent with the amount of wells that we're getting in drip. So that's what this deposit plan actually addresses. So I'm really glad that Kanji put this together. He did a very, very good job with the calculations. And yeah, here it is. So let's go ahead and go into the next part of this presentation, which is going to be on the reservoir strategy. And I'm going to also try my best to answer that question that the gentleman asked earlier. So give me 1 second here. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good to go. Okay, concerning the reservoir strategy and also the behavior of drip, I have this chart here that I'm going to break down for you. And also I'm going to be going over these numbers as well. Let me make sure you guys can see this one. Okay, can you guys see both windows here? The price chart and also this spreadsheet?
I only see the spreadsheet.
Okay, good.
Yeah, same to me.
Okay. So we're going to start here on the price chart. Okay, now the behavior of drip. And as we can see, even though the right now the drip supply, right, is around 171,000, okay? And that drip supply actually dipped lower than the drip supply that we had around this area here, okay? Around this area, when we had our last price floor, the drip supply was at about 137,000, okay? Now, on this end, our drip supply is much lower, right? It's at about 171,000, okay? Here we had about 137,000 drip supply. Here we have 171,000 drip supply. But the difference is that the price was much lower back then than it is now, okay? And the reason the price is higher is because of our BNB balance, okay? And that's what these numbers here are, okay? At the last price floor, we had 3.6 thousand BNB, okay? But now, currently, at about $14, we have 8.2 thousand BNB, okay? And this is the reason why the drip price is not much lower than it was at our previous price floor, okay? It's because of our efforts in Reservoir, okay? Now, what I want to illustrate here is exactly, I want to give us a holistic view of what's going on with drip in terms of the BNB balance, drip supply, and the price. And also, I'm going to give you a price prediction based on the total number of drops that I'm expecting us to have once we reach the next all-time high, okay? Now, before we get there, I kind of want to explain to you a little bit more of how the reservoir strategy works, okay? Now, right now we have 8.2 thousand BNB, okay? And at the all-time high, we had 13.4 thousand. Now we're down to 8.2 thousand, okay? Now, what I want you guys to keep in mind here is, what if we would have started depositing BNB into Reservoir at this time, at this all-time high, okay? If you would have started doing that at this time, our BNB balance would be much higher, okay? And if our BNB balance is much higher, of course, we will have a higher price. And this will be a lot more of a bullish pattern than it is now. Right now, it looks like we're coming back to a base level of price. And that's because we started putting BNB into Reservoir a little bit too late. So the reason we're at this point now of trying to play catch up, to be honest, we felt as a community to educate ourselves on how Reservoir works. And since we failed to educate ourselves on the Reservoir, now we have to play this game of catch up. Okay. But it's not too late. We're still, doing what we can to sustain price. And of course, once demand meets this supply level, we'll get a reversal and we'll go into higher prices. But I want to show you ideally how this is supposed to happen. Down here at this price floor, when we had 3.6 thousand, we got that reversal, right? Demand meets supply. At this point, when demand meets supply, we saw that the price went above a certain moving average. Now, if this were to happen again at this price level, right? At this time, we should turn our attention to reducing the drip supply. And the reason we should begin to reduce the drip supply at this time is because we've already done what we were supposed to do in terms of putting BNB into Reservoir. And the reason you want to buy from the fountain at this time is because the fountain has a 98% to 100% effect on reducing drip supply, and also 100% effect on increasing BNB balance. So buying from the fountain versus buying from the Reservoir has a greater impact on increasing price. So once we see a significant sign of reversal in the price chart, as we saw here, at this time, we as a community, we want to begin buying from the fountain. And what we're doing essentially is getting behind demand to push the price higher, okay? So that's how the strategy is supposed to work, all right? Now, one of the factors that contributed to this demand meeting supply is that this price chart started to look attractive, right? It looks attractive to someone that's speculating on a chart. We see that it's leveling out here, and we're seeing some type of bullish divergence here on the RSI. And when people who speculate on charts see that, they're going to begin to buy the DRIP token. And that's kind of what we're seeing here again. We're seeing the price look a little bit more attractive to those who speculate on price charts. It's beginning to level out, and we're seeing a bit of a bullish divergence here on the RSI. So am I saying that the price is going to reverse them all? No, I can't say that for sure. But we are in a good position for the price to begin to go back up to the upside. Now, if the price does begin to turn bullish, at this time, we want to turn our attention from BNB and Reservoir, and we want to get behind that demand to push the price higher, okay? And of course, once we get behind demand, that doesn't mean that we stop putting BNB in Reservoir altogether. We still want to put BNB in Reservoir, but we need to understand that what's going to help push the price higher is by buying from the fountain, by decreasing supply, and at the same time, increasing BNB, okay? So now, once we reach that all-time high, at this point, this is when we want to turn our attention back to the Reservoir, okay? And start putting BNB back into Reservoir as the price corrects. And essentially what's happening is that as the DRIP supply is increasing, people are selling their DRIP, but at the same time, they're putting BNB in the Reservoir. So DRIP supply is increasing, but simultaneously, BNB balance is increasing as well. So that helps us to have a higher price floor as the price of DRIP corrects. Now, let me go ahead and illustrate this a little bit further. Okay. All right, can you guys see? And can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we see it and we hear you.
Okay. Now, this is a relative liquidity chart here, okay? And what I want to show you is I want to compare the BNB balances that we had and also the drop balance that we had at previous price floors and also at the tops of the market. Okay, now we have somebody with their mic on. Okay, can you guys check your mic? Make sure you guys are muted. Okay. All right, now, back in January or July 16th, at that time, this was the all-time high at $54, okay? And at that time, you had a 14.6 BNB balance and a drop balance of 163. And I did some calculations here, and I came up with the Reservoir BNB balance, which is 6,000 BNB, okay? Now, the difference between the BNB balance and the Reservoir BNB balance is that this is the total BNB that we have in DRIP, okay? This includes BNB that came in from buy transactions on the fountain, and this also includes BNB that was deposited in the Reservoir, okay? This BNB balance here, 6,000, is BNB represented as the drop token, okay? So this is BNB that came into DRIP via the Reservoir, okay? So at this time, at that all-time high, when we were at $54, our drop balance was 163. Now on the price chart, that's right here, okay, on this date, July 16th, we're right here. Now, after the price corrected on August 8th, our BNB balance was 5.9 thousand. And what's interesting is that our drop balance was still 163. So what happened at this point is that after we started to correct from the all-time high down to this level here on August 8th, our BNB balance dropped from 14.6 thousand down to 5.9 thousand. Now that's fine, but the issue is that during that time when price was correcting, no one deposited into the reservoir. So since we got no BNB or fresh BNB deposits into reservoir, the reservoir BNB balance was also dropping. And when this happens, this is actually going to result in a lower drip price, okay? A more aggressive correction. So once we came to this level here, the price continued to correct, and on September 28th, our BNB balance was 3.6 thousand. Now, once we got here at this point, our drop balance was 201, reservoir BNB 1.4 thousand BNB. So people began to put a little bit of BNB into reservoir, which is good. But if the deposits into reservoir would have started much sooner, then maybe the price wouldn't have came down to $9. So this was a mistake on a part of the community for not depositing BNB into reservoir, and it's mostly due to the lack of education. Okay. Now, how do we do the next time around? How do we do in terms of BNB during the correction when we hit a price target of $190? Okay, on January 25th. January 25th, $190. Our supply was 27,000. Our BNB balance was 13.4 thousand, and our drop balance was 286. I did some calculations and I got 5.5 thousand reservoir BNB. Okay, so this is what we had at the previous all-time high at $190. Now, after we corrected, we came down to this level here on April 1st. We had a supply of 84,000, BNB of 7.9 thousand, drop balance of 315. So we're seeing some consistent deposits into the reservoir, but it's not much. I mean, this is about a 2 to 3 month window here. And we only got about another 20 to 30 drop tokens into reservoir, okay? So we did a little bit better this time around. Around April 12th, April 13th of this year, that is when our community began to educate ourselves on reservoir. And now today, we have a drop balance of 708 and a BNB balance of 8,000 and a total BNB balance of 8,100 BNB. So we're doing much better today. Okay, so now since we've educated ourselves on the reservoir, I want to show you a comparison of what's going on here. When we came down to the floor here, okay, we had 5.9 thousand. As the drip price continued to drop, the BNB balance also continued to drop. Okay, so we went from 5.9 thousand to 3.6 thousand. However, this time, when we came down to that first level where price was steady, we had 6.5 thousand BNB, and then drip price continued to drop. Okay, and as drip price continued to drop, the BNB balance is actually going up. And now we have 8.2 thousand. Okay, so this is exactly what our efforts is doing for the drip price right now. Okay, the reservoir is seriously supporting the price. Okay, now what is the potential of where we're at now? Okay, where will this BNB balance, since we're starting at a higher BNB balance, what could be the future price of drip? Okay, now I use certain calculations, of course, and if we continue with the same pattern that we had in the past, once we go to the next all-time high, we could reach a BNB balance of 28,000 BNB, okay? And a supply of 36,000. Now, I know that might be shocking for some people, but this is kind of like the pattern that I'm seeing with drip. I'm seeing that the price of the supply is expanding, or expanding to the is getting a lot higher after each cycle. The supply is going a lot higher after each cycle, but when it returns to the next all-time high, the drip supply may not go too much higher than it did the previous cycle. So I'm not certain if that is the going to be the behavior of drip, but that's kind of what it's looking like now. And that's because the drip supply is going so high after each correction that it's going to take a lot more capital in order for it to reach previous levels of supply that it did before. So, but this is what we'll have based on what I'm seeing here. And if BNB balance or BNB price is $450, we could see a drip price of $350 the next cycle. Now, this is just based on drop and projections that I'm getting from the previous BNB balances. This is not considering our partnerships, is not considering anything that we're adding to the drip platform or anything like that. This is just based on the BNB balance, drip supply, and also our efforts of putting BNB into Reservoir. Just with that alone could give us a drip price of $350, okay? Now, if we correct, okay, once we correct from this next cycle to the all-time high, we could end up with a drip supply of 228,000. Okay, that's pretty high. And of course, if we have that supply, that's going to require a lot more BNB in order for us to keep the drip price at an acceptable level. Once we correct, the BNB balance could go as high or as low as, let me see here, 8,800. Okay, so we could have a drip supply of 228,000 and a BNB balance of 8,800. Okay, and however, if once we get to this next all-time high, okay, once we get here, okay, again, or we go higher to the next cycle to the top, $350. Once we get to that point, the amount of BNB that we are putting into Reservoir should be accelerated. People should have more excess capital to put into the Reservoir. And if they're doing that, of course, that's going to produce a higher price floor as the drip supply begins to go up. We'll be able to keep that price floor a lot higher and prevent or to counter the sell pressure. Okay, so if we keep the same BNB price, BNB balance of 12,600. Okay, so if BNB balance goes down to 8,800, if we are putting BNB into Reservoir and we end up capturing 20% of the value that would normally leave drip, if we capture 20% of that value, that could give us a BNB balance of 12,600. Okay. And with this BNB balance, this BNB price, we can end up with a drip price of $24. Okay. And that'll be the price floor. And I know that doesn't look very attractive. I know it doesn't, but the reason why the price is so low is because the supply is so high. And this isn't unfounded. Okay. It's very possible because we're expecting to have so many more users after we achieve the next all-time high. And as we have more users come in, my projections is around 400 to 500,000 new drip players total after the all-time high. Others say 300,000. But as that happens, that's going to increase the sell pressure, which in turn is going to be enough pressure to push the price, the drip supply, to previously visited supply levels and even higher. Okay. So just based on the numbers that I have here, my projection is 228,000 drip supply after the next all-time high. So if we capture 20% of the BNB leaving drip, we can end up with a 12,600 BNB balance total and about 11,800 BNB in reservoir. And that'll give us a price floor of $24. But with the introduction of the deposit plan, which grows consistent with Wells, and with each person's progression through each bracket within that deposit plan, with that in place, once we hit the all-time high, we'll have more users in drip. We educate them on the reservoir, and then we can sustain deposits in reservoir to counter the sell pressure after achieving the all-time high. And if we could do that, maybe we can try to sustain this BNB balance of 28,000. Okay, is it possible? Maybe it is possible over time. But if we do that, if we have if we're able to maintain the same BNB balance of 28,000, even with a drip supply of 228,000, that'll give us a drip price floor of $55. Okay. So this is just a quick look at how the drip supply and BNB balance has changed now that we're putting BNB into the reservoir. I do have another breakdown, which is the actual diagram and an illustration of this whole thing. And I have other price targets as well based on that information. But yeah, I think that'll do it for me here. Hope that didn't go too long. But do we have any questions? And are you guys still with me?
Yeah, we're with you. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any questions at all?
Yeah, I had to step away for a minute, but was the question about the tax vault draining and mending of new drip addressed? And if it was, you don't have to repeat it. I just had to step away.
No, I actually did not address that. Can you ask the question again?
Well, I guess I'm just looking for kind of an explanation of what will happen when the tax vault goes to zero and the minting of new drip starts, and kind of how that is related to the reservoir, and what kind of impact or mitigation will the reservoir have on combating that. So if you just kind of more of an explanation of what that will look like if that starts happening, or when that starts happening.
Yeah. When it comes to, it's not guaranteed that we're going to have to mint tokens. Okay. We do know that Forex said that it's highly unlikely that tokens will need to be minted. But as our understanding of drip evolves, we're beginning to recognize that, hey, maybe we will need to mint tokens eventually, since we see the growth of the number of users that we have and how that increases the sell pressure. But the thing is, when it comes to minting tokens, if we ever come to that point of having to mint tokens, I need you guys to keep in mind that Drip has burnt tokens before. I believe we burnt about 1,704 Drip tokens at the launch of Drip. So there is a burn mechanism built into Drip. And what that does is that helps us to control supply. Okay, just like Animal Farm has supply control algorithm, Drip also has the capability of controlling its supply through burning. Okay, so I believe that if we do have to actually mint tokens to pay out the 1% daily rewards, I believe that Forex can actually begin to burn tokens at that time to reduce the diluting of supply and effect on the drip price. Okay. Also, yes, sir.
Yes, have we factored in the fact that you could have like Atlantis launching using the faucets as a reservoir, and with all the new, partnerships and programs that Forex has with the scratch cards and everything like that. I mean, I think with all of this potential new partnerships, the price could obviously get a little affected, when it goes up. But if these things work the way they're supposed to work and the animal farm is working and it's not down anymore, maybe we might not see the price coming back down to 24. So I'm just saying, maybe I like how you put everything is well thought out, well put together. I mean, but it's all hypothetical. We don't know what the market's gonna do. But if these projects and partnerships that Forex has in mind work out the way they're supposed to work out and do what it's supposed to do, maybe we could see some more sustainability. What you think about that?
Yes. I'll get to that next, but let me go ahead and finish answering the other gentleman's question. But yes, thank you for bringing that up. So with the minting, okay, with the minting, we talked about the burn mechanism. Okay, I believe that Forex will begin to burn some of the tokens that are minted in order to control the supply of drip and avoid diluting supply and significantly affecting the drip price. Okay, so minting or the burn of tokens is one thing that'll help us if we do have to mint, but also keep in mind that if we need to mint more tokens, that means that there's a lot of people in drip that's making money, right? Because we have to pay out these rewards. And if people are making money from drip, then of course we have to educate them on the reservoir and have them put more BNB in there, right? So more drip tokens, more BNB in reservoir, more drip tokens, more rewards that are paid out, more wells. More wells, the deposit plan says a greater requirement of BNB in reservoir. Okay. So with the growth, with what we've put together here, with the growth of drip, that should also grow consistent with the deposits of BNB in reservoir, which will help us to sustain the platform long term. Okay. So this is what we're addressing here with our deposit plan and our efforts in the drip chat. We are contributing to sustaining this platform that is taking care of us. So the more we are succeeding, the more we should do what we need to in order to support this platform by contributing BNB to the reservoir. And this is why I try to stay away from presenting reservoir as a protocol to earn, right? to get gains or to get high profit or high yield. I try to stay away from that message. And I try to show people that the reservoir isn't just about that, but the main purpose of reservoir is to support the platform. If your intention or main focus is to earn a profit, you should get that from the faucet, okay? Not the reservoir. The faucet is where you want to get your profit. The reservoir is where you want to support the platform. And the more we are able to support the platform, the greater value you're going to get out of the faucet. So even if we have to mint tokens, okay, that means people are making more money, and that should coincide with more BNB deposits in Reservoir. Okay. Now, does that answer your question, sir? Okay, maybe he stepped away again. Okay, now the other gentleman's question, it was pretty long, but I know that you were just bringing up the fact that we have partnerships. We have other things being built upon Drip. We have many improvements. We have the promotion of Forex and the Drip team. We have a lot of things going on with Drip. And if we have all of these things happening in the background, and we understand that there are so many other projects that want to partner with Drip because it's proven to be sustainable, like the first ROI platform that has lasted over a year, this should in some way contribute to us being able to achieve a higher price floor, so we won't have to see a price of $24 again with Drip. Now, I want to let you guys know that these numbers that I share with you, these are pretty much worst case scenario numbers. And the reason it's worst case scenario is because it's based on ratios and projections of what we did in the past, right? And in the past, we didn't have a partnership, a lending protocol with Binance, right? We didn't have, or PancakeSwap. We didn't have a lending protocol. We don't have partnerships. We don't have the animal farm. We didn't have any of those things back here, right? We didn't have this stuff. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today was never heard of back here. Okay. So because of that, this is really a worst case scenario that we're looking at. And if we add in all the things that are coming, that could double what we're seeing here. Okay, it's going to increase the amount of drip that's locked. It's going to increase the amount of BNB that's going in Reservoir, because now we're getting a lot of people asking Forex to create some type of mechanism that sends or channels BNB to the Reservoir as other transactions are taking place on other platforms. So if we can somehow add that for Drip, then as other platforms within the Drip ecosystems transactions increase, that will also increase the amount of BNB going into Reservoir as well. So all these things in mind, of course, we're not going to see these numbers again at $24, okay, $55. Like I said, these are just worst case scenario numbers here based on the ratios that we had in the past. And back in the past, we didn't have the partnerships and talks about partnerships that we have today.
Just a quick one. Suppose we want to make a nice awareness within the drip community. Say, for example, once a week we all deposit into the reservoir as a, you know, like make it like a thing that we do in the drip community. You understand? Like once a week, everybody deposits into the reservoir. I think this would be a really good incentive to get people to understand the importance of the reservoir, but also to get people to understand if they want to continue to make good gains in the faucet, you need to contribute to the system and not just drain the system. So I think if we could find a way to, market within the community to let people know, hey, once a week at a certain period of time, 10 p.m., 12 p.m. Eastern time, we all deposit, whether it's one BNB, two BNB, or half a BNB, whatever you can, we do that into the reservoir. And if we could then, for example, have like a platform or something that indicates that people are doing it, that would be very encouraging as well for new people joining the platform, because the whole idea is now is for when new people join the platform, the next 100,000 people, they need to know that this is something that the culture of the drip community does. Once a week, whether it's Monday, we all put in whatever B&B we have into the reservoir. How about that for an idea? Once a week.
Well, you have to keep this in mind. We've already put together the deposit plan. Okay, the deposit plan it's a one-time contribution, right? It tells you how much you should put in, based on what your deposit balance is. And of course, as you progress through that deposit plan, you should start putting more. So you make that first contribution, but that's not it. You can continue making additional contributions on top of what the deposit plan provides for you. Okay. So that's why we had a deposit plan, to give everyone a guideline on what they should be putting into the reservoir. So people have the question, how do I get involved to support this platform? Give them the deposit plan. You guys can use this information to send or share to everyone on your team or everyone that you're involved with within the drip ecosystem. Okay. That's what it's there for. We're providing this as a service to all of you. Okay. So, but yeah, we have the deposit plan. And when it comes to incentives, okay, this is something that should be broken down for your teams, okay, by each team. And we see even NPC today, right? NPC had a number of people come into the Reservoir chat and just say, hey, I deposited, 0.1 BNB today. Thank you, NPC, for the airdrop. So NPC and his team, he had some type of campaign or incentive for everyone to deposit BNB into Reservoir. So it's a lot more manageable to have that type of incentive managed by each team, instead of the Reservoir chat telling everyone, hey, deposit this much BNB into Reservoir on this particular day. I don't think that's very effective. I think it's a lot more effective to have each team do that on their own. But us as a Reservoir, as the admin team for Reservoir, what we provided for everyone is the deposit plan. Okay. That's what you have to let everyone know what they should deposit. But when it comes to dishing out incentives for getting into Reservoir, that's something that should be a team effort and not something that we would do here at the Reservoir chat. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
And we see this, the team effort of depositing into Reservoir. We see it working. I mean, look at Stunner Breezy. Look what he did. Look at NPC and Bartertown, right? Ray Bartertown. They've all put together campaigns to get their teams, individual teams, to put BNB in the Reservoir. Okay, and I think even Cryptozoia had a campaign as well. So people are naturally, using their teams to get BNB in the Reservoir to support drip. They're just naturally doing that because it just makes sense. Okay, so do we have any other questions related to Reservoir? Anything I talked about? Anything related to the deposit plan, the sit rep, anything that was covered today in RVC? Okay, like we said, we wanted to try our best to keep this short. I'm not sure how long we've been on here, but hopefully this was a very beneficial session for you guys. Hopefully we answered all your questions to your liking, and also hopefully the information will help us to understand how the Reservoir works and what we can do to support drip. I heard one person say that right now in the markets, this is just maximum pain. Okay. but I've been with Drip since last year, and I've went through that July 16th floor, or not July 16th, but the $9, September 28th floor price. So that was painful to see that price of Drip, because we understand that Drip is so much more valuable. Okay, but we're not seeing this price because Drip is not valuable. Okay, the reason we're seeing this price is because of the way Drip works. The more users you have, the more sell pressure you have. So we need demand. Okay, and that demand is going to come from our promotion of Drip, Forex and his team, and also from us just maintaining the platform and attracting people who like to speculate on charts. And eventually they will find a time and place to begin investing in Drip. And eventually we're going to see a reversal in the price of Drip. So just hang in there. Thank you guys for being a part of Reservoir. We can see now how important the Reservoir is. And we understand that Drip and Reservoir is actually inseparable. Okay, it shouldn't be, Reservoir shouldn't be viewed as something that's not important. Okay, without the Reservoir, the Drip platform price could go very, very, very low. Okay, we need the Reservoir. The Reservoir is something that is a necessity when it comes to being an investor in Drip. You have to get involved with Reservoir. Okay, everyone. Thank you for your time. Until next time, if you guys have any further questions, get in the chat, ask the admin team, and they'll be there to assist you. Okay, we'll conclude here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, AC.
Okay.
Somebody's still coming. Maybe somebody's still going to ask questions.